Multitasking here today, my friends. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Center of Love, or as I sometimes like to call it, the Church of Here and Now. Because whatever love is, whatever it does or doesn't do, or however we come to experience love, the simple truth is that it can't exist anywhere or anytime other than here and now. And so before you showed up today, and after you leave in a couple of hours, love is with you. Love is in you. And all we're doing in these gatherings is bringing this simple, joyful fact to the forefront. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so grateful to have you here on this fine Sunday morning, whether you're able to join us in person or in spirit via the marvels of modern technology. We're honored and humbled to have you here with us today. My name's Ollie, and it is my privilege to be your host today as we connect and dive into more thought-provoking, mind-expanding, heart-opening discussion. Now, when it comes to our subject matter, love, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, many angles or perspectives from which we can approach this subject. What I would like to remind everybody here today is that as we engage in this sort of discussion, we have to keep in mind the point of all this talk, not to intellectualize love, not to quibble over semantics, but to direct ourselves and others to an experience of love, to a state of being that is in alignment with love and the way of things. So here's the value of all talk, whether it's spiritual, scientific, or philosophical. All talk aims to clarify, share, and facilitate an experienced reality, the experience of being loved, of spreading love, of being love itself. That's the point of all this talk. So at the end of the day, love is singular, complete, perfect, whole, but like a light beam, when it passes through a prism, it comes out the other side broken down into different colors. It's kind of like that. When love enters the prism of our minds and bodies, we tend to break it up into different types of love, like love of friend for friend, love of parent for child or child for parent, love of romantic, variety, right? Lover and beloved. So, it's easy to get lost, but we have to remember that all of these types of love are just one single ray of light for us. And today, our speaker, Matti Anttila, will speak to us about some of the barriers that we have erected within ourselves that prevent us from experiencing the love that is our birthright and essential nature. A little bit about Matti. He is a certified laughter yoga teacher and the author of the book, The Zen of Joy, and we have several copies here today. He believes that joy and love are solutions to our inner turmoil and to the trials and tribulations of the world. Matti, I welcome you to the pulpit, sir.
Everything I was going to say, he just covered it.
It's almost like we planned it that way.
Before we get started, I'd like to conduct a little experiment. Actually, I'd like you to conduct a little experiment. You don't have to share, but I'm going to say a few words. What I'd like you to do is to notice what kind of feelings may come up when I say those words, and what thoughts come up. You don't have to share, so I'm inviting you to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. You are awesome. Yay! You are magnificent. And you deserve love. I don't know about you, but the first time I did that, I didn't quite feel magnificent. I didn't feel I deserved love. It was more like, who are you kidding? Stop that nonsense. The little guy here, deserve love. Yeah, I am not magnificent. I am not awesome. We'll talk a little bit more about this particular technique as a solution to the stresses that we have within us and the outer environment, the world as it is today. I'm a great believer in, if you can clearly identify the problem, you're most of the way towards solution. So let's see if we can more clearly delineate what our problems are in today's world. We're under attack. Now, that's nothing new. The environment has toxins in it. We have toxics in our food. We have toxins in the water we drink. We have toxins in the environment. Now, does it matter whether that's a conspiracy to attack us, or it's just corporations being greedy? The net effect is the same, isn't it? So these toxins, not only are we getting toxins, but we're also getting stresses. Every day, if you watch television news or radio news or read the newspaper, it's negativity. It's pandemics, not pandemics, pandemics. It's wars, environmental degradation, climate change, all the negative stuff that we're being fed and goes into our subconscious. That's another level of toxin. But what that does is create stress. Post-traumatic stress disorder is with all of us. We may not be waking up in the middle of the night like Vietnam War vets every day since the war, screaming in the middle of the night every night. But we still have some stresses that are within us. So those stresses, what that means is that muscles are tight. Muscles being tight means that there's no blood flow in that area, there's no energy flow, there's no nerve flow. So it's trauma created. We're traumatized. We have trauma in our lives, birth trauma, bullied by somebody in school, bullied by teachers or well-meaning parents. So those all create stresses, and we layer those on top of each other. I'm a certified laughter yoga teacher, and when I went to Finland, my home country, to get trained as a teacher by Dr. Matti Anttila, the founder, I had a question for him. Every Saturday morning, we'd have laughter yoga. We'd laugh for the better part of an hour, and you feel fantastic. Wow, what a great way to start the weekend. And then Sunday, I was angry all day. So I asked him, what's this all about? And he said, you know, in India, when there's a death in the family, everyone grieves openly. They cry, they wail, they let that grief out. In our Western society, we don't tend to do that. We tend to hold on to it. And he explained to me where we hold it on is in the diaphragm. So moving that diaphragm in laughter rather dramatically for the better part of an hour started to release some of those stresses. It lasted for a few weeks, then it cleared. So that gives us a clue as to how do we release this PTSD, these layers of trauma that we have. Here's one technique. I recently learned this one. Whenever you're feeling worried, anxious, fearful, or you listen to a newscast and it tells you about the crisis du jour, just go like this.
Shake it up.
Ready? Very good. And the more you put your heart and soul into it, the better it is. Well done, you two.
Yeah.
Naturals.
You're naturals at it.
Thank you.
Now, laughter is a great way. But as I was explaining to our friends earlier today, laughter, to get the benefits, you need 10 to 15 minutes of sustained laughter. And what that does is it floods the system with the feel-good hormones, the endorphins, the serotonin, the dopamine, and oxytocin, and whatever else we don't even know about yet. And the great secret of the universe is feel-good hormones and the stress hormones cannot coexist in the body. By flooding the system with the feel-good hormones, however you do it, with laughter or with smiling, it gets rid of the stress hormones. Now, what the controllers are doing to us right now is many of you may know about the Ayurvedic medicine, the 3,000-year-old medicine of India, has 7 energy centers of the body. At the base of the spine is the survival center. That's where we're in flight or fight. We cannot think logically when we're there. And the controllers are in the 3rd energy centers, which is in the gut. That's the power center. They're using their power to control the population and keep them in fear in the 1st center. How do we combat this? Not by taking up arms, because whatever arms you can get a hold of, be it an AK-47 or a pistol, they've got bigger ones. They got tanks. Forget about that. As John Lennon said, you go into violence, you're playing their game and they win. Amen. Violence is not the answer. So what is the answer? All you told us, living in love. The heart center is the love center. And guess what? This energy is a higher energy and it trumps the lower energy. We stay in here, we're on top of all that they're trying to do from the power center. By staying in love, we trump the power center that they're operating from. The great comedian, Lucille Ball, said, you really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. So how do we do this? How do we love ourselves and release the traumas? Well, laughter is one way. There's another technique I learned that's become very powerful as I continue to do it, from Patch Adams, the clown doctor. You may have heard of him. Mm-hmm. There was a movie about him starring Robin Williams. He's a clown doctor. He goes into war zones with clowns, teaching them how to teach others to laugh in a war zone. Okay, so this is very powerful. He was interviewed and he said, how do you do this? And he gave us an exercise, which I did dutifully. For the next 7 days, every time you pass a mirror, do this. I am awesome. Yeah, me. I did this for 7 days. I got addicted. This was 3 or 4 years ago, way before the pandemic hit. I lost track. It's got 3 or 4 years ago. I've been doing it every day since then. And the initial reaction about, oh, it's just, I'm no good. I'm not going to deserve love. All that initial reaction. What this does is rewires the neurology to get us to feel good, to love ourselves, nurture the love center. Now I added something to it. I go, I am awesome, magnificent me. And I added Louise Hay exercise. I look in the mirror, deep into my eyes, and I say, I love you. Yeah. I really love you. So your mission, should you decide to accept, for the next 7 days, every time you pass a mirror, do this and see if you don't get addicted. And see if you don't unfold into your greater magnificence.
I wanted to thank you all for being here, for sharing your wisdom, for being vulnerable, for showing up. I mean, again, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago now, when 2 or 3 are gathered in love's name, love is with them. And, you know, we don't need 1,000 people to really achieve things here. And every time we meet, I feel re-energized. And I I think to myself, oh, I got to wait another 2 weeks for the next one. But so it is, right? So yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to be here to listen to the amazing talk that Matti delivered and all the great conversation that ensued. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, we're always looking for new ideas. At some point, I'd like to have an open forum, maybe in the fall, now after we've had a few of these gatherings, and say, okay, so are your needs being met? What would you like to see here? And so start thinking about that. And if you have ideas now, suggestions, topics that you'd like to hear about, I mentioned how love is such an expansive topic, and we could talk about all these different facets of it. I know Cressel wants to talk about self-love. I'm awesome. I love you. This is what we're talking about here is self-love. And one of the earliest messages that I received from the great teacher that kind of staggered me a little bit, I was going for a run. And for me, running is quite meditative. So I fall into kind of a state of mind where my mind just starts to relax and things happen on their own. And I got this message and it said, love is the key. And I said, okay, that's cliche. Like, tell me more. And then the message was, love is the lock. Okay. And love is also the hand that turns the key in the lock. And I was like, this sounds like it's important, but I have no idea what you're talking about, great teacher. But over time, through conversations that I had with people, it became apparent to me that the whole notion of the lock and the key in the hand is self-love, right?
Yeah.
You have to unlock your heart. And the key to unlocking your heart is not other people's love, because you could be loved by millions. If you don't love yourself, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Self-love is the key that opens the heart, which allows you to flood yourself and the world around you with love. And so all these topics and more are just waiting to be discussed and brought forward. And so anybody, ideas, contributions of any kind, energy, expertise, art, obviously, anything that you can give to this community, you will receive back 100-fold. So thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. And of course, your ultimate contribution is your presence. That's why I call it the present, right? It's a present.